Hi guys, here is Afrasyab, your physics tutor. Today's topic is physical quantities and measurement techniques. Today we will learn about measurement of length and volume, measurement of time, scalar and vector quantities, how you can differentiate between both of these quantities. Addition of factors graphically or by calculation. Formula. There will be some formula used that are used to find out some physical quantities or when you're going to find out the vector addition. And there will be some example questions related to each topic. There are also some questions included at the end of the lesson so that you can practice it by yourself. Physical quantities and measurement techniques. So first of all, what are the physical quantities and which techniques are used to measure these quantities? Physical quantities are basically all the quantities that you can measure. Suppose if I say that you are going to measure the mass is measured in kilogram, then the mass is a physical quantity. When we have to describe a physical quantity, basically there are two things that are used. First is the magnitude, which is basically the numerical value. Second one is a unit that is used to express this quantity. So for example, there are length, mass, time, temperature. All of these are the physical quantities. Physical quantities has magnitude as well as unit. For example, there is a person that hold a bag of grocery and the mass of that bag is 5 kilogram. Here 5 kilogram, 5 is basically the magnitude while kilogram is the unit. So the physical quantities are basically have both of these, magnitude as well as unit. It means that the mass is a physical quantity. Similarly, if I say that there is a car which is moving at 25 meter per second. Here 25 is the magnitude while meter per second is the unit. So 25 meter per second is basically the velocity of the car. That's why the velocity is a physical quantity. I can simply say that all the quantities that you can measure. For example, the time is measured in second. That's why the time is a physical quantity. There is also the temperature which can be measured, and there are different units that are used to measure the temperature. That's why the temperature is also a physical quantity. Next, there is international system of units. The units that are used to express the physical quantities. These are called the international system of units. There are two kinds of international system of units. They might be the base unit and they might be the drive units. So what is the base unit? There are different kinds of quantity which is called base quantities. These are the quantities on the basis other quantities are expressed. For example, length. Length is a base quantity and mass is also a base quantity. There are certain units that are used to measure these quantities. These are here. First quantity is the length, which is measured in meter. Meter is unit for the measurement of the length and it is measured in a symbol m. Second is the mass. Mass is measured in kilogram and its symbol is kilogram, means kg. Time is measured in seconds and the symbol is S. There is also the electric current. The electric current is measured in ampere with symbol capital A. The temperature is measured in Kelvin represented by K. Amount of substance is measured in mole, and last one is intensity. It is measured in candela. You are familiar with length, mass, time, temperature, but all other quantities you will see in the next sections. There are also drive units. The drive units are basically the units that are used to express the drive quantities. So first of all, we have to know about the drive quantities. What are drive quantities? The drive quantities are those quantities that are expressed on the basis of base quantities. For example, if I suppose the speed. Speed is measured in meters per second. And how you can define the speed? Speed is basically distance over time. Distance is a base quantity and time is also a base quantity. Both of these are combined to give the speed. So here I express the speed in terms of distance and time. That's why the speed is a drive quantity, while distance and time, both of these are the scalar quantities. So the units that are used to express the drive quantities, these are basically called as drive units. There are some drive units. For example, the velocity, which is measured in meters per second. Here meter is a unit for the length and second is a unit for time. Meter is also the unit for the distance. In the case of velocity, the meter is the unit for the displacement. That's why the displacement per unit time is basically the velocity, which is our drive quantity. Next one is acceleration. It's also our drive quantity. Acceleration is basically the change in velocity per unit time. So velocity is measured in meter per second. In the velocity, the displacement and time, both of these are base quantities. Here is one extra time, means that one extra unit which is second. That's why the acceleration is also a drive unit. There is also the volume, which is a drive unit, which is obtained when you multiply the length 3 times. Forces, energy, power and density, all of these have the drive units because all of these are derived from the base unit. You will see all of these quantities in the next sections. How we can measure the length of anything? Like if I suppose I want to measure the length of the rod, how can I measure it? First of all, the length is a physical quantity. And when we have to measure it, it is measured with the help of a ruler. If the length of that quantity is ranges from few millimeter to the meters. Suppose I want to measure the length of the rod. I take a ruler and place the rod over it in such a way that the one side of rod will be at the 0 mark while the other side would be at some point. I suppose that here is 5. Then the total length of this rod would be 5 centimeter, which is the final reading, and the initial is 0. So final reading minus initial reading, which is 5 minus 0, it would be 5 centimeter. So in this case, the length of the rod is 5 centimeter. It's given here. Assume we want to measure the length of the rod. The rod is placed alongside the ruler with one side at the 0 mark of ruler. The length of the rod is determined by reading the position of the other end of the bar on the scale. So you just see the other end reading. This would basically the length of that rod. What is a ruler? Here you can see in the figure the ruler is shown. The ruler is a device that is used to measure the length, and it's also used to draw the straight lines. Here there is a scale on the ruler. At the top it's calibrated in centimeter, while at the bottom it's calibrated in inches. Both of these are the units that are used to measure the length, but the standard unit is meter. So I can simply say that the ruler is a device that is used to measure the length of anything, and it is also used to draw the straight lines. How you can take the measurement with the help of ruler? So here you can see there are different positions that is shown, which is used to take the reading. This position would be the wrong position, because here you are measuring the length at some angle. Like here is some angle at which you are going to take the reading from a ruler. You are also going to take the reading at some angle, but the correct position is the right angle. When you directly see the ruler, like here is shown, right angle means that here should be the 90-degree angle. So this would be the correct position for taking the reading with the help of ruler, like you can directly see it above. Here there is an example question. A scale is shown and you want to measure the length of this rod. So what would be the length for this rod? See here the initial position, which is at 0 centimeter, while the final position is at 5.5 centimeter. When you have to measure the length of the rod, just subtract the final reading and initial reading. So it would be 5.5 minus 0, which is 5.5 centimeter. In this case, the length of this rod is 5.5 centimeter. Here is the solution. Initial measurement on the ruler is 0 centimeter. The final reading on ruler is 5.5 centimeter. Then the length of rod is determined by final reading minus initial reading, which is 5.5 minus 0, and answer is 5.5 centimeter. It means that the length of this rod is 5.5 centimeter. So here you are going to measure the length of the coins. See the starting reading. These are basically starts from the 3. And the final reading is basically at 15. So the length of the coins will be final reading minus initial reading. Final reading is basically at 15 centimeter, while the initial is at 3. So 15 minus 3 is basically 12 centimeter. In this case, the length of the coins is 12 centimeter. Next is exam tip. Sometimes in the question, the information that is given is not used to calculate the quantities. So you don't need to worry. It's a common trick to make the questions to seem difficult.